Is 30 years old too old to get rich from crypto? This is NC Hammer Crypto. My name's Neil. Keeping technical analysis short and sweet and right away. No, it's not. So for those of you who are just here to hear the validation, start investing. But for those of you who actually want to learn and are here to see some technical analysis, I'm going to go through a little bit of a walkthrough for Bitcoin, XCN, for the people who are just here for XCN, and potentially XRP. So I'm going to show you back in 2015, I was first taught about Bitcoin. I brought this up in multiple videos. $250 is what we were looking at. I think I bought my first one maybe around $139. And so we see that that was in year 2015 at $250. By year 2017, so 2 years later, we were looking at nearly $20,000 for every 139 to around $200 you invested. Astronomically insane. Major pullback dip for the next couple years. So 17 to 19, then we started to bottom out here around 4,000. I remember begging my father to buy each one of his kids a Bitcoin as my funds were tied up at 3,500. He said it was a scam because the news told him it was a scam. Well, his son was correct, and we went from 3,500 up to around 13, 14,000 before a major retracement. Back around this time, we saw that it still had its pullback. So from, what was that, 2019 to 2020, a year later, we were bottoming back out around the $5,000 mark in immediate support, pulling it up. There was the 2017 all-time high, and we completely surpassed that and went to 64,000. So if you just held from 2015 and 6 years later, your $139 would be worth $60,000. I don't know any other industry that will give you that kind of profit. Maybe if you invested in NVIDIA back whenever it was really cheap. But this is just a basic opportunity within 6 years. $139 going to $60,000. Here we were back around 17,000. I remember my boss telling me to give up on my hopes and dreams. Bitcoin was going nowhere, and I continued to invest. And sure enough, we went from 16,000, and here we are all the way up at 124,000, peaking out. Currently at 87,000, so we had that pullback, but Bitcoin can potentially hit anywhere from 150 to 220,000 is a possibility for this last leg up. So those of you who are freaking out or think you have missed your opportunity to enter into the crypto market, Bitcoin, even though it's up at 87,000, which is a ridiculous price point for any cryptocurrency, but Bitcoin is king. Larry Fink wants to pretty much buy up all the Bitcoin after years of suppressing it and saying it's money laundering. Now he is one of the biggest money launderers out there. Go figure. They tell you to not buy it whenever it's $3,000, and then they tell you to buy it when it's 120 to 86,000, saying, "Oh yeah, no, this whole time we were buying it too." We were firing people for some of our investors. Same with JP Morgan. They said they would fire anybody investing into cryptocurrency back when it was 3,000 per Bitcoin. And here they are today investing ridiculous amounts of money at 88,000. So if you think Bitcoin is going to be crashing when these massive institutions are buying it up, you are more than likely wrong, because 87,000 is just the base. This is the internet before people knew what the internet was. Bitcoin, even though we're 10, 15, maybe 17 years into Bitcoin, yeah, you could have spent $1 and got a couple hundred Bitcoin, and you would be set within 10 so plus years. Which brings me over to XRP. So for those of you who want to make a lot of money with very little money, XRP would be your go-to. Why do I say that? Because XRP has been suppressed for the past 7+ years. For 7+ years, it's been suppressed down here around the 50 cent to 30 25 to 50 cent area, let's say. XRP has been suppressed. And then what happened once the lawsuit was dropped and the SEC, actually that was probably later in time, but the SEC was suing for like 1.25 billion. And after 7 years, they said, okay, we'll take 125 mil. And if you don't know what that means the SEC, the fucking was with a PH, YouTube, so don't ding me for that. The PH is silent. The ucking SEC government lost a lawsuit. They win like 99.99% of all lawsuits. They lost against XRP. If that's not saying something for this cryptocurrency, I don't know what is. If you can beat the SEC in a lawsuit for whatever they want to get money out of you from, props to you, because that is a major win. And we clearly see when this happened, I don't believe it was this exact time, it could have been later in the future, but they were suppressed for 7 years, and we went from 56 cents to, let's say we'll get a rough estimate on the days, 70 days, 56 cents to $3.36, which is about 480% increase in 70 days. If you stake your money or put it on an online bank, you get around 4.5%, maybe through Synchrony or something like that, in a year. This is in 70 days. This is like 2 months. 480% increase in price. Say you didn't sell. Say you held on to it. You are still at 223% profit from whatever money you put in at 50 cents. For those of you who have been following along for these past couple months, if not this entire past year, you probably are up quite a bit. I am willing to accept 10% of your profit. And any money that you guys give me, stickers, donations, subscriptions, memberships, whatever it may be, 50% is going to save animals' lives. Unfortunately, Taquito did not make it because we did not have the funds to pay for his surgery. The other dog that got thrown out a window, that's probably the first one I'd like to throw money at. So for those of you guys who are willing to donate, you guys are going to be able to see the progression of a dog that got thrown out of a 2-story window because her ex-boyfriend got angry and then she no longer wanted the support animal. That's all besides the point. I know you guys, if you want to donate, you'll do it, but we're here to talk about TA. XRP is working within this channel. We've seen it work within channels in the past. Market manipulation right here on October 10th. Same with the rest of the market. You can pull up HBAR, you can pull up XCN, almost everything that you pull up, you're going to see market manipulation on October 10th. That's the way the market works. There's nothing you can do about it. The people who are insider trading, Nancy Pelosi, those type of people already knew what the market was going to do, and I'm sure Nancy Pelosi is highly in profit with that pullback. However, we have came back down towards that area. This is on HBAR, and that is pretty much leaving this area. We have to, if you guys don't understand this, what it is it's got market manipulation, a bunch of people buying back up. The people who are selling, say they sold at this point, the market wants to give them the opportunity to switch their order from a sell to a buy, and it lets it bleed out to roughly the maximum of where it had that sell-off before ultimately getting bought right back up, all the sellers switching to buyers, and then we see that continuation to the upside. That's HBAR. HBAR is in correlation with XRP. XRP is in correlation with XLM, and XCN is in correlation with XLM. Those are a lot of tickers. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, in my channel I cover them all, so hopefully you guys can learn from that. But XRP dollar cost average, if it's up or down, keep buying it. Just like Bitcoin was 139 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever it may be. And now here we are at 85,000. XRP is lagging behind. They have been suppressing this, trying to shake everybody who's had a big bag in XRP out, saying it's going to drop all the way back down to 50 cents or lower than at least $1.40. That's not going to happen. There's too much institutional power buying up XRP and pushing this price to the upside. You don't see it yet because there's multiple different platforms that they're working on. There's the behind doors back end that the banking and institutions are dealing with. When they released the ETF for XRP, it was trading at $25 and people were buying it up, from my understanding. I could be incorrect, don't quote me on it, but they were willing to pay this price for XRP ETF. We're at $1.87. So that's just to push it up to $25 from where we are currently at. If you look at that percentage profit increase, say from there to 25, more or less, say we go to 25 exact, 1,230%. Well, let's compare that to what Bitcoin was back in the day. We'll just minimalize this, kind of get a rough estimate. Say we got in down here. Say you entered late. Let's say you entered like where XRP is now, 3,500 more or less. Come on, Neil. Figure your out. There we go. Say you entered in about 5-10 years ago. You are up 2,562%. I say 3,363 because in previous history, that was where we were kind of bottoming out around here before that major push up, which we will most likely never see. $3,600 Bitcoin again. So that's kind of why I say that you may have missed the train on Bitcoin. There's a lot more percentage you can gain from altcoins than Bitcoins at its current price. And you can always piece together, sell some of your altcoins and buy some Bitcoin in the future when it does pull back to around 87,000. I think we might hit 120, maybe even 220 for Bitcoin. And then we see that flash crash going down to probably 80, potentially even 60 or even 50,000 to shake absolutely everybody out of the game. So this video is getting kind of long. Let's cover XCN. For those of you who are just here for XCN, bleed out. Feels like you guys got stabbed and you have been dying slowly holding XCN. Well, hold on because we are thinning out this CM guppy. This is actually what I wanted to see. There is still the possibility for this blue line to happen, to have that liquidity sweep. But judging by what Bitcoin is doing, it is trying to build a base. It's not the strongest base, which is why I've explained in previous videos. For the new subscribers from the last video, shout out to you guys for trying to get some education in. But if you didn't see the previous videos, I said we could see that push up towards this red upward trend line and the CM guppy push it down. We did get a slight push up, but nothing that broke this downward trend line. And then we got that next day red candle, or in my case, orange. I actually should probably do a video on psychology because having orange and blue is so much more beneficial than red and green. I can promise you. So those of you guys who have red and green bar or candle charts, you probably have a lot of anxiety whenever it goes down a little bit. But orange definitely helps me out because it's more of a caution. It's not like get out now, it's cautionary. So moving back over to XCN because I'm lagging out. Oh, I should have never went back to Bitcoin. XCN, let's kind of cover it for those of you who are just here for that. Way away from this 200 EMA. We are far under the CM guppy. We have been pushed down and manipulated for quite a while. So those of you who are trapped at here, 0.016, maybe even higher at like 0.023, hold on tight because even if we drop, this is just liquidity waiting to get into the market. For those of you who have buys down here around 0.003, shout out to you. I'm always accepting 10% because that is just a good entry. For those of you who have missed the previous entry back here, back in January of 2025. For the people who did enter in January, whether it be up here around 1 cent or even higher, I'm sorry for the people who entered way up there at 5 cents. We will get back there when Bitcoin stabilizes and starts to pull up. We are pretty much all altcoins are just waiting to see what Bitcoin will do. I could pull up XYO, HBAR, XLM, all those. They're all just waiting for Bitcoin to do its reversal. Bitcoin's pulled back like 30 something percent, and it did not drop massively below that, which gives me reason to believe that it's starting to build a base and get some stability, because typically we see in Bitcoin a major pullback, some major pullback like we are seeing with XCN. However, XCN is not dead yet. XCN is a great play. You can see in previous history, look at the volume down here. It's dead, it's nothing happening. We are above the 200 EMA and the CM Guppy at this point, but then a little bit of volume blip this thing up from 0.003 more or less all the way up to 0.015. It may not seem like much, but that is a massive gain. Had the major pullback, consolidation above the 50, these blue lines here on the CM Guppy, and then got slapped into a new dimension. So even though we are way under the red in the CM Guppy, this is ideal, because think of the water coming down and causing pressure. If you guys have ever ridden those crazy tube things, like where you sit in the inner tube and they have water pressure blasting you up. I did one in Canary Islands. It was crazy. It gives you like pressure to start building upwards. So think of this as a funnel. We got a bunch of water flooding into this area, pushing down, pushing down, pushing down, and we are thinning this out. So now we are getting to the bottom of the slide. Even though it may have a little blip down, is a possibility, the CM Guppy, the water is about to be flipped, and we are start to get that pressure to start pushing this upwards towards this red trend line. Keeping in mind, we're going to have this 200 EMA coming in right here, more or less, and we are essentially waiting to have this CM Guppy thinned out, and so we can hop over that water, use it as support, test off that 200 EMA, test that downward trend line, and then eventually break out, test it as support, and the sky is the limit. Keeping in mind, there's going to be a lot of sell-off on the way up. It's not just going to be all ponies and rainbows on the way up. You're going to see some resistance at that 200 EMA. You're going to see some resistance at that downward trend line, as we've seen in previous history back here in April, May, June, July. We are more than likely going to get a little resistance, but as long as we are building higher lows, we could expect to break out of this downward trend line. And typically you may even see a major push up, but usually you want to see it come back down, test that as support. And if we do get a major push up to say around 0.02 cents, which was the previous high back here, right? That's why we say 0.02 cents. You could see that push up and a major pullback. But then you'd keep in mind, in my strategy, come on, let's refresh this. Let's get this video over with. Yeah, I'm sure you guys have already signed off. You get like 3-minute attention spans. Say we push up to that 0.02 cents. The main thing in my strategy is looking at that CM Guppy. So I can't essentially draw it because there's no indicator or tool I can use. But say the CM Guppy is coming down here. I said, say the CM Guppy is coming down here. There we go. Good boy, iPad, you piece of work. CM Guppy is coming here and getting thinned out. And then it's going to flip, right? We're going to have a flip. It's going to get gray. And then it's going to start turning green. And then that's going to be our support. So say we have that major push up to around 2 cents. Pull up the paintbrush once more. This line I am currently drawing is these red lines that are coming down and causing the pressure. So with this flip right around here, we see it turn green, start causing some support, and then we have the major push up for the coin, right? It gets to around 2 cents, but the CM Guppy is way down here. It's trying to catch up. So we have this major pullback to get support off that CM Guppy, if not this red downward trend line. All right, iPad, you are slacking, dude. I can't even do the update. I don't have enough gigabytes, so I have to buy something new. I don't know what to tell you guys. It's Lag City. CM Guppy is coming up, and then it causes that support, which we've seen in previous history. I will pull it up. I just know my iPad's going to lag if I pull it up right now. And we could get that support and start pushing back up towards 5 cents. You're going to get a lot of sell-off at 5 cents, probably 6 to 7 cents, and 10 cents. There's going to be some major resistance in my opinion. But you can see that, like I explained just a little bit ago, you have that major push up right around here, around 0.016, major rejection, and then here's the CM Guppy coming in to slap it a little bit, pushes it up again, and then gets that major resistance. It tries to push down even to the second level right here, that second line on the CM Guppy, and then gets that major support and continuation. That is more or less what we can expect with XCN when we finally get out of this red downward trend line. So that's a lot of information. Hopefully it's informative and you guys learn something. Like, subscribe, donate if you want, help save animals' lives. Shout out to the people who have: JM, Jenny, Woozall, Tyler, whoever else is a subscriber. There's somebody else, Junior Carlos, that's the other dude. Shout out to all you guys for supporting the channel and helping save animals' lives when we can finally get a donation to those pets. But that's it. Good luck. Have fun with it. Hopefully in these next week to 2 weeks, we will have some major movement. So I will see you guys on the next one.